I mean, it's a very interesting case. It's something I've always been fascinated with since it happened in '96. And it gets a lot of attention because people want to talk about it. It's well-known individuals, and it was, a very big impact on the music world and society at the time. But Diddy's under investigation, and there's a grand jury convened into the sex trafficking allegations against him.
That's a big one for me.
Is the FBI or the Homeland Security actually who's doing the investigation? When you hear other things like this popping up and the allegations of possibly being involved with Tupac, is that something that they're going to kind of fold into this as well, or is this just more conjecture in the public going maybe this is part of it, or is this something that they would literally well, we got to go down this road too and see if there's something here.
So, again, a lot of conjecture here because I just don't know.
Yeah,
But out of all the things that they're investigating right now, still to me, the most important thing is the sex trafficking, potentially child
yeah.
trafficking, that
Hmm.
because that is something that could still be impacting a lot of people
Sure,
now.
sure.
What they're what I would be doing if I was investigating this and I have all these potential murder charges in here as well, I would be putting that aside and holding it right here because you don't want to charge someone with that without having the investigation over here ready to go. Because what will happen is if you charge someone here, anyone that might be circled around that investigation might also be involved over here, and you're going to get them to shut up and lawyer up.
Hmm.
And you don't want to have that happen until this is all flushed out over here on the child sex trafficking side, because that's the one that I think is going to have the massive tendrils going out.
Hmm.
I think the straight charges going forward with potential murder for hire and things like that are going to have a more centralized. Well, I'm using my little thing. A more centralized impact right here
Okay.
with fewer victims involved than
Yeah.
the potentiality over here with all the sex trafficking. So if I was the investigator, and this is gonna be multiple coordinations as well going on, which also takes time. So they're probably dealing with one assistant U.S. attorney on this, and they're trying to deconflict a lot of people, doing a lot of investigation with a lot of leads and a lot of information coming in as they're trying to organize and get straight what they're going to do because they don't want one investigation's outcome or charges to negatively impact the other one. So they're probably triaging. They're saying what do we have more bandwidth for? Because this is also taking a huge amount of bandwidth,
Mhm.
meaning people and resources to do this investigation, to follow up on these leads, to serve subpoenas, to collect all the evidence, to analyze all the evidence, to to search all the social media platforms, to get on the dark web, to find out all the potential victims on one side. See what I mean? There's so many moving parts that requires a lot of people to do that kind of work. And if you have a small handful of investigators taking in all this, because every time a new charge comes in or a new allegation or something new or hits the social media, they're going to run that down.
Mhm.
And every time one celebrity says something, even from the jailhouse, well, now they're going to look at this one guy in a jail. They're going to look at every single communication he's had for this entire period of time with everyone
Yeah.
to see if there's fire behind that smoke. And that takes even more resources there. It's going to draw it away from here. So you see, this is why
Yeah.
these things take time because they run everything down to truth.
And we're talking almost a 30-year period, of information. I mean, that which
I
is
can't imagine.
yeah,
It's overwhelming.
yeah. How does the Department of Homeland Security and also when you're calling in witnesses and such with the grand jury investigation that's been impaneled here, how do they secure the safety of some of these witnesses? Because we know, I mean, if we're to believe some of these things and even some of the claims that Diddy has said himself of having people killed, of that being, I mean, an imminent threat to if someone's going to snitch or talk about their knowledge of what he may or may not have been involved in. That's got to be a scary prospect for a lot of people because he's still out there, he's free. He's still got a lot of money and probably a lot of connections. I'd imagine there's a lot of influence and pressure that don't go and talk if you want to be okay or your family to be okay. How do they basically ensure the security of people that they want to get information from in a case like this, if in fact that could be going on?
That's a great question too. So Homeland Security, I'm not quite sure because their investigative arm and them conducting investigation cases is relatively new. They didn't exist when I went in the
Sure.
bureau. So let's just assume it's an FBI only case, and because it's all federal law enforcement regardless.
Yeah.
That's a rough question because to start involving witness protection, you're going to start involving the Federal Marshal Service,
Hmm.
and they have limited resources and a limited ability to do this. And so these are really high level cases. So in order to totally protect someone and you're going to have to do relocation. You're going to have to do the whole fake name thing. You're going to have to do the witness protection program if they're going to be that high and they think and they can assess the threat against them physically is that high. That's pretty rare for them to do that.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you're working with witnesses, potential witnesses, you let them know up front that hey, I can protect you. I'll do the best I can. We're not going to leak your name. We're not going to do all these things. And we ask you not to do the same because of all these potential impacts. If that doesn't scare the witness away, you might be okay. That's also why this is also a challenging case because the fear factor of this blowback, the fear factor of leakage, the fear factor of how they could. This is why it hasn't happened before.
Hmm.
This is why his entire network
Yeah.
hasn't dimed him out before. This is why people are starting to feel empowered now because there's safety that we feel psychologically in groups, groupthink. And so if you have one or two people that are now voicing off feeling safe, they feel safety in numbers. I can jump to and do the righteous thing,
Hmm.
but I'll be safe in a group. Reality wise, are they safe in a group? Yes ish.
Hmm.
Only because now that there's more attention on them, there's more eyes looking at them. If anything happens to them, they're automatically going to be looking at that guy because he probably took him out. So,
Sure.
but before that happened, before there's a group thing going on for safety, an individual coming forward, there's a lot of fear factor going on. So there's actually not, that's a long answer, I know,
Yeah.
for saying probably not a lot of real things they're going to be doing for them to protect them,
Hmm.
except anonymity. And
Yeah.
that's what we're really good at is not leaking stuff. I mean, these cases become extremely close held. I mean, I worked side by side with people doing high level investigations that I had no idea what they were doing. I mean, here's a great example from the espionage side.
Hmm.
If anyone's ever remembered the case of what's called ghost stories, the 10 Russian illegals.
Hmm.
These are the ones that the Russians had embedded in the country. That was the Anna Chapman, the one that
Mm.
was in DC. And these are the Russian illegal
Yeah.
families that were
Yeah.
here infiltrating. I sat in the unit, and one of my great friends worked that case from headquarters. I was on the behavioral team. I strategized the behavior interview of one of the families. I had no idea who the other ones were. I had no idea who was even on. I wasn't even read into that case, even though I was on the headquarters unit doing that investigation for a good while.
Hmm.
Because those things at that kind of level, when lives are on the line, they become extremely really well and close held. So likelihood in this case, same thing.
Yeah. Can a witness that they really want to talk to, can they decline in something like this? So with a
Yes.
grand jury, they can say, I don't want nothing. Can they be forced or compelled to testify in if they really
So
have
if
some
there's a
information?
yeah, so again, I'm not super familiar with grand juries. I didn't deal with grand juries a
Yep.
lot, but if they're subpoenaed, yes, they're compelled to do
Hmm.
so. But protection of them, boy, that gets
Yeah.
really sticky, doesn't it?
That's gotta get scary, especially in something like this, but again, I see the, strength in numbers, and that's why we've been hearing more and more and
Yeah,
more. I'm wondering if an arrest is made, if he is ever charged, what kind of a, dam breaking effect that's going to be of many more people coming forward because they feel more secure with him being
probably.
behind bars.
So an interesting thing too that really made me think here. I didn't deal with them a lot, but I've been dealing with it a lot just because I know that they've been deployed on the Trump shooting.
Yeah.
And that is victim assistance programs. So all law enforcement agencies, at least most, and definitely the Bureau at federal level, has victim assistance programs. And what those victim assistance programs are is people that have been victimized or part of this process. They are given a lot of resources. They're kind of hand walk through the entire process to give them that feel of safety and security, and a lot of times, like if local law enforcement knows that a witness is in the area, they'll be doing more drive-bys by the house. They'll be on surveillance potentially. So there's a level of security they're given. They're not like assigned a security detail
Yeah.
necessarily, but they're given more. more notice. They're given higher alerts. If there's a now, granted, if there's an actual threat that's known or intelligence comes in that someone's under threat, yeah, then there'll be a protective details put on them as well for a period of time. So it kind of goes on a person by person basis.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.